everyone. I am Mark Nicholas. If you're listening in to the first time, welcome. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. I am an award-winning comedian of 6.5 years, and with me is my lovely co-host.
My name is Kyle Wolf. I'm the one that doesn't sound like a pantomime pirate, and you're listening to Unmedicated, a podcast where two neurodivergent guys, aka myself and Mark, talk about neurodivergent things, i.e. life, with other neurodivergent people, i.e. the guests. And today's topic is journalism. Wonderful. All right. So today's episode is going to be a little bit different, as we have someone who's a professor. I feel like this is a bit of a show and tell where the children have got one of their parents in to talk about their job, but we technically have not necessarily a parent, but a brother of one of us to tell us about journalism and his experiences within that. So welcome, Lee Burkwood.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I mean, as the parent, as in the youngest brother, I mean, it's a bit of a mismatch.
9 minutes younger. So.
And he never lets you forget it, does he?
Never. 9 minutes younger.
Yeah.
No.
Well, thank you for having me on.
That's all right.
Before we get into journalism, do you want to ask the question you always ask?
Oh, yes, I do have to ask this, even though you are twins.
Well, no, you don't know.
No, you don't know, yeah. Lee, what do you got?
What do I got?
What have you got?
Autism.
I mean, it's literally my shirt. It's literally, I'm literally wearing the shirt. Yeah.
Do you know what
For the listeners, I'm wearing a shirt that basically has autism, but it's broken up in 2 letters AU, 2 letters TI, and then SM, and it's a periodic table thing. So,
to be honest, if you didn't say you autism, you could tell just by that.
Yeah, just by that explanation, there's like, right, so this is how I'm going to break it down, and this is literally broken down. So, yeah.
Do you know what I really love, right? I get whenever I'll ask people, oh, do you want to be a guest on the show, right? Oh, yeah, I really like what you guys are doing. Then when I ask that question, it's almost like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah, we've had people on before that have been completely thrown by that question. I said, I have nothing in my pocket, so like,
what you got? I have money. Are you asking for money?
It does throw people.
Yeah, but apparently they listen. So anyway, carry on.
Yeah.
Lee, so you are a journalist, a freelance journalist, yeah?
Yes, very, very much in the early stages of it, but yeah, pretty much. I mean, I got a master's in journalism. I think it was 2023 or 24. I graduated. So basically, I essentially did a master's in investigative reporting, and just over the years, I've just like penned a few articles. I mainly have a Substack, and I've written for Huffington Post, Open Democracy, and there was a university magazine I wrote for as well. So yeah, no, I've written for different publications, and again, a lot of it is just basically my own Substack. So, but yeah,
how did you get into it?
How did I get? Well, the thing is, actually, so I say I've only just got into it, but like I started writing way back in 2016.
Was that your first letters, or was that what?
So what's first?
Your first letters. Is that when you wrote your first letters?
Yeah, exactly. When I was 26 years old, it's my first letters. Yeah, LEEFUCK off. So no. Yeah. So basically, I'm very much interested in politics and current affairs, and I just found myself just writing about what was going on in the news, and then I just submitted a couple of things to the Huffington Post, and they were like, "Yeah, great," and they took that on. I mean, they didn't pay me for it, and this is the thing sometimes that it's so hard to get paid in journalism, especially. I mean, the Huffington Post don't do this anymore. To be fair, I would say.
Well, they don't employ people anymore.
They don't employ people anymore. No, and this is the problem with journalism. It is a lot of publications are cutting back, but yeah. So that's when I first got started. Like when I just submitted I submitted a piece to Huffington Post, and then they gave me my own account, and then essentially I could just then, just submit my articles online, and they just have someone to proofread it just for legal reasons. So
was it Ariana Huffington that proofread it for you?
Who are we?
Ariana Huffington.
I don't know.
From who owns the Huffington Post?
I did not know.
Somebody works for them.
Well, I did. To be fair, it was. I forgot the editor's name. I forgot who it was, but that's the person I was. And they basically. So what used to happen was I used to just submit an article, and then they would just go. they would proofread it, and then they would just publish it. So, but that did happen for a few years, and then they stopped doing it. Then they told me, I was like, yeah, we've stopped doing this now. So, and then I just had to find stuff elsewhere. But yeah, and then so I think I pitched an article. It's actually during the pandemic. It was one of my brother's friends works for this university magazine called Should Hasser. And they're like university.
Just to be clear, that's not him. There are other.
Older brother.
We have two older brothers.
We have two older brothers. So one of his friends is a journalist. One of me and Mark's older brother's friends is a journalist. And during the pandemic, he got me. Essentially got me an article commissioned at the magazine he worked at. That was about climate change. So I wrote about that. And then I think it was about a year ago, I actually pitched an article on education to Open Democracy. And then, they took that on. So, and the thing is, I've pitched so many articles, so many different publications. Most of the time, they just ignore you. But occasionally, if you've got something that's quite unique to say, then they'll go, oh, okay, yeah, we'll look into this. And it's just, but it's such a hard industry to get to. You're competing with so many people. And the thing is, obviously, with the rise of social media and stuff, a lot of people their attention span isn't as much. They want to just read very quick news stories, and they don't want to read, I like writing a lot. Long articles, to be honest, just because I'm very passionate about things, and I want to get as much information out there as possible.
So what do you think that's maybe to do with you being autistic, the sort of going into details?
Yes, I think that's definitely a lot to do with it, because I want to what I say, I want to kind of back that up, but also present the alternative viewpoint as well, because it's studying journalism. One of key things you learn is that even if you don't have to be completely objective. This idea that journalists have to be objective is complete bullshit. You don't have to be completely objective, but as long as you present, even if you're making an argument, as long as you present the alternative argument, just say, well, so this is what I'm saying, but actually. To do so, for instance, I was criticising in an article the government's education reforms, and then I would then have their response to that in my article, basically saying, but they would say this. So as a government spokesperson said this. So.
But then, this is what I see all the time with articles when they do approach the people for comment, and when they don't get back to them, you just have to write.
Yeah,
no
you
comment.
just have to write no comment. Yeah, basically. But as long as you approach people, as long as you present that alternative, and say, well, I've tried to contact the people involved with the article I'm writing about, whether it's a government or business you're writing about, or it could be or person. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So as long as you've attempted to reach out to them and show that, okay, we have reached out to them, we are gonna. That's such an important thing in journalism. If you start saying stuff about anyone, any business, organisation, or individual, then they can quickly come down and sue you, because obviously there are libel laws and things like that.
So if you said I think this person is a fuckwit person, what do you think? Are you a fuckwit?
No, I mean, to be fair, no one ever I say no one does that, but you can put it in some of the tabloids. I imagine it's
yeah, to be honest,
no. So basically, I think as long as you kind of reach out to people for a response, if you're writing a criticism of someone or an organisation, as long as you reach out to them for a response. And I suppose this goes back to the initial question about writing in detail, and the autism is it's actually wanting to get everything right, wanting to make sure that I get everything right, and that actually I'm presenting, even though this is my view, I'm presenting an alternative view, just to go, well, this is what this person says. I've said this, but this is what this person is. Essentially, you end up and it's up to the reader to decide. So,
what do you think the professional journalism can do to make it more accessible to people with neurodivergencies?
I think having clearer pitching guidelines, because often it's about trying to find the right person. Yeah. For instance, I pitched something to The Guardian last year, and they said, "Oh, no,
bless you."
Yeah, and they then turned around and said, oh yeah,
it's not hateful enough. What?
It's not hateful enough. No, how dare you? No. They turned around and said, "Oh, actually, we're not the right person. You need to get in touch with this person." And so I got in touch with that person. Then they just kind of ignored me. So it's I think it's different publications will have different pitching guidelines. Also depending on what you're pitching. So if you're pitching an opinion piece, if you're pitching a feature piece, you have to get in touch with different people within the publication. And it's like, and some publications literally just have one contact, and then you just send it to that contact. But unless you actually know other people within that work for the publication, then it's sometimes your pitches are just ignored. So it's like, I think having clearer things where it comes to pitching. So like, this is who you need to pitch. So to be fair, like, I think the newspaper have this, which is really good. They have a list of all the different editors and all the different for all the different sections. This is who, if you want to pitch an article to us about this is who you need to contact. So they have a very clear guidelines about who you need to pitch to, and a lot of papers don't have that. The Guardian don't have that. The Times don't have that. And it's about who you know. A lot of this is about who you know and getting to know the right people.
That's the comedy industry as well.
Yeah, basically.
And the
arts,
TV industry.
The arts, I think.
Oh God, the arts is so full of nepotism.
Yeah,
But it's a challenge.
It's a challenge, and so I think that is one thing that to make the guidelines in terms of pitching clearer, but also to have more voices from because I read a lot of articles, and I read articles about neurodivergence, and a lot of these articles are written by people who just are not neurodivergent, or not at least openly neurodivergent, and then they start, it's, for instance, there was one the other day said about, it's actually in the paper that said about, are too many people being diagnosed these days, and it's like this over-diagnosis shit that you hear, that actually the health secretary did say that people are overdiagnosed with mental health and neurodivergence. So, and I think it's people writing about the subject that that aren't experts in it, that don't have the lived experiences, but also I do think there are journalists that are neurodivergent that really should use their platform to talk about neurodivergence. Like Owen Jones, a lot of people would know he actually has ADHD. So he actually got diagnosed last year. He did a video about it. But then he didn't really talk about it afterwards.
Because often Owen is hyper-focused on other things.
Hyper-focused on, like, for instance, he's hyper-focused on the situation in Gaza, so that's the main thing he's writing about. And I think for years I've always thought he was a bit neurodivergent, and then he kind of came...
What gave you that idea?
What
gave you that idea that
Owen Jones is
might be
yeah, exactly, yeah. So I think for me, it's just wanting to see more neurodivergent journalists like writing about their experience, but also publications giving more opportunity. And again, it's a really hard industry to get into. So
what do you think, like, in terms of, because we've had conversations personally, but because also
that's good. You two as siblings have had conversations.
I know.
Personally.
I know. Who the hell is he? I don't know. Talk to him.
Right? We do converse. When you get two autistics in the room, conversations do happen. That is not about trains. But what is? Well, I know I've heard that so many times.
It's just like you make the same bloody joke about it. About the trains all the time.
I'm really glad you never review my shows.
Yet.
Oh, God. Oh, well, that's a threat. Okay.
The power of the pen. There we go.
The power of the pen. But there was a Spectator article during the Fringe about Edinburgh Fringe about, again, exactly, Spectator. Again, people are just inventing their neurodiversity so they can make an hour Edinburgh show. Yeah. So that's literally what it's about. It's more and more people are neurodivergent and mental health, but no, they're just using that. They're just saying that just so they can write.
Yeah.
And it was almost like it was a fashion accessory to wear, like a badge. Like, what can the media do more to, like, kind of challenge that?
Well, to write accurate articles about neurodivergence, but also to platform neurodivergence in a positive way. And the one thing I would say to some of the media's credit is this, like ITV, so we have recently put out a programme called The Assembly, where neurodivergent individuals are interviewing celebrities, and actually, they allow them to ask the questions in the way they want, and just to allow them to ask any kind of questions. And it's honestly, and I think they've had David Tennant on, they've had
Danny Dyer.
Danny Dyer.
That's the only one that I've seen, but I'm going to watch the rest of them.
And there was one of the singers from Little Mix as well.
Yeah, I haven't watched that one. Michael Sheen did it last year for the BBC. But, I think stuff like that is really, really important because actually it presents neurodiversity. Sorry, neurodivergence, I must say, because apparently there's this debate.
Yeah, don't.
I don't get into that, but it presents neurodivergent in a really kind of positive way, and actually in a kind of way that allows neurodivergent people to be themselves, and actually on the media, on TV, and to be fair, like I think the BBC have obviously platformed Chris Packham a lot, and obviously he's an environmental campaigner, and he does a lot of stuff for the BBC. So there's stuff like that which is really good, but then there is also inaccurate stuff that the BBC have published. There's this one article I've told you about this, where this BBC journalist published a few years ago. It was about a police officer that had been radicalised as a neo-Nazi, and within the article there was a subsection called autism debate, and it said, experts agree that this police officer's autism could have had something to do with his love of neo-Nazism, because he loves order and structure.
And the memorabilia.
The memorabilia
and the obsession
with the memorabilia.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just like, and it said experts agree. It never countered that. It never really. It just said, here's a subsection of that, and we're just going to gloss over that.
And you've actually complained.
I've complained several times.
Like, tweeted them.
I've complained several times. And actually, I wrote a recent article about Autism Acceptance Month, about this very idea about how the media portrays it, because it's also how the media responded to Elon Musk's, let's be honest, his Nazi salute at the Trump's inauguration, and so much of the media went, well, actually, he is autistic, and we need to consider that, and it's just like, well, no, like it's and also even if he is autistic, that doesn't necessarily mean he's more prone to be a Nazi, and so this is where I think the media have really let themselves down in a lot of ways. The way they portray autism, the way they portray neurodivergence in general, overall isn't accurate. Because obviously it's not all positive. We all know, as all people on the spectrum, we all know it's not all positive. There are difficulties with it, but there are also like positives to it as well. So it's like the media do not present neurodivergence in a nuanced way. Again, apart from this recent thing with the Assembly, which has been, I think, such a breath of fresh air. It really, really has. And so I don't obviously. So yeah, I think a lot more of the media can do more, but I think we are starting to get it with companies like ITV. I know you did some work for ITV, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So, I think if we can get more of that, but not just obviously because that's just like on TV, but if we can get more of that in the written word, in terms of when our articles are published, we need much more. We need much more nuanced conversation about neurodivergence within the media, within written articles, because I think so much of what people read about neurodivergence is misleading, quite frankly. So.
Yeah, what is the one sort of misleading thing that they report in the media that you want them to stamp out straight away?
Well, the fact that autistic people are more prone to be extremists, because and also they did the same thing as well with that trans teenager Brianna Gay who was murdered. They said her killers had ADHD and autism. They said that as part of the court had to, when the court were deliberating over this, they had to consider that the fact that they were autistic and had ADHD, as if that had anything to do with them being radicalised enough to kill this person. So I think the way the media. Yeah, they need to stop linking neurodivergence to extremism. This is what I've seen so much. Again, the BBC have done this, The Spectator have done this, The Eye have done this. I think other media outlets have been better than others, but I think to stop portraying neurodivergent people as more likely to be extremists, which there's not really a lot of evidence to show that. I mean, neurodivergent people, yeah, some can be extremists, but most of society, most people in society are not extremists, and so it would then figure that most neurodivergent people aren't extremists. But this is how it's portrayed in the media, from what I've seen, and it really infuriates me, and it's just. And it just leads to so much misleading, and it also leads to the fact as well, where you've got in America, you've got obviously RFK Jr. Putting out misinformation about autism, and then the media just reporting that. And it's like, oh yeah, this is what he said, and then
they're not countering.
They're not pushing back on a lot of misinformation. So I think pushing back more, actually having more neurodivergent voices within the media, as in more neurodivergent authors.
Basically, employ Lee Burkwood.
Yeah, employ me, damn it! No,
but seriously,
no,
why
but actually,
not?
Genuinely, I would say neurodivergent people from like a diverse background, as in like neurodivergent people that say aren't white, for instance, and neurodivergent people that are from even more marginalised communities, because actually this is because when people think of autism, the image in their head is a white boy, basically, what like trains a lot, and it's just like actually that's not the case at all. Neurodivergence is in every community, so actually if you do have a presentation of neurodivergence from all communities, because it actually does affect every community. So that's why I want to see more as well. So it's not just about employing a straight white guy like me, but it's actually,
Well, you could do with the work.
I could do the work, definitely. I could do the work for sure. But no, but I think, having more representation of neurodivergence within the media, more neurodivergent journalists, because there are other neurodivergent journalists out there. There absolutely are. And I've met people that are like that are also having similar struggle with finding work within this industry. Yeah. But I think that there's a wider issue about neurodivergent people being employed in general, because I think there's a statistic about something like only 30% of autistic people in the UK are employed or something. It's like it's got
bad. Worse, But
Lee, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, man. Could you please look into that camera there and tell people where they can find you?
So people can find me at journoleasum.substack.com. That's where I write most of my articles. So that's journo and then leasum.substack.com. You can also find me on X at journalism. I'm also journalism on Blue Sky as well. So,
perfect. Right. Thanks for coming on, man.
Mate, thank you very much for coming on. Cheers, mate.
Do you want to text your boy?
That was a fantastic episode. I think we covered so much in that.
Yeah, man. He, she, it, they were absolutely fantastic. Could have done without the Nazism, though.
Yeah.
But, we'll edit that out in post, right? That's the beauty. That's the beauty of being an editor on your own podcast.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, if you do like it, please share with family, friends, your therapist.
Your bigoted grandparents.
And then talk to your therapist again about why you shared this with your bigoted grandparents.
Yeah.
And please like, subscribe, give us loads of 5-star reviews, share everywhere you can, yell at people on the street about unmedicated. And if you want to follow us individually, you can follow me at Mark Nicholas Comic.
You can follow me on the street if you wish, but also online at Carl Wolf Says. And I have another podcast called The One Where I interview comedians and entertainers about a film or TV show that they like or dislike. Unmedicated was recorded and produced in studio by the lovely people at Streamline Studios. And so please give them a follow. And, well, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.